Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Thank you guys so much for being here. My gosh, we have a wonderful show for you guys tonight. I am just fresh out of the vehicle. I've been in my truck for the past 3 hours trying to get home from North Georgia in the mountains. I went Bigfooting today, y'all. I went Bigfooting and I ended up hanging out with some really cool older gentlemen who taught me how to do dowsing to find burial sites out in the woods today. Whoa, y'all, it was wild. Oh, and I met up with Dr. John Stamey today as well. And we'll talk about it a little bit tonight. But we have a really fantastic show. I'm just glad I made it here in time for the show. I know I'm 5 minutes late. I see that. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just happy to be here. I had to put on some makeup and curl the front of my hair a little bit, y'all. Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking crazy, and I'm glad I'm here. That's the life of a Bigfoot field researcher, though. And so, anyways, thank you guys so much. By the way, everybody who showed up last night on Vic Cundiff's Dogman Encounters. Yes, I was on there last night. I forgot to kind of mention it this week. Drewski from Cryptid Warfare Operators and Survival, which I'm a part of his team. He and I went on there last night and we talked about hunting dogmen on Dogman Encounters. So if you guys missed that, go to Dogman Encounters on YouTube and check that out. We had a huge crowd over there last night. My goodness, he's got a big old crowd. And Vic Cundiff will be on our show here on the Cryptid Hunters channel this coming Wednesday. So be sure to come back on Wednesday and check that out. I love me some Vic, man. Vic Cundiff is the coolest. And so thank you guys for all your support. I saw y'all in that chat last night. I saw a bunch of y'all over there. So it really made me feel good. So thank you guys so much for that. Well, tonight we have our very good friend, Robby Rains, here in the studio tonight. Robby is a co-host of DA Ex Machina. And I saw that, unfortunately, DA has not been feeling well this weekend, so he canceled his shows. And I took that opportunity to see if Robby wanted to come on with us tonight over here on the Cryptid Hunters channel. I haven't seen Robby in some time, and he and I have actually done Bigfooting together up in the North Georgia mountains. And I just love Robby to death. He's the coolest. And so I want to say, I want to send DA all the best energies and say, everybody, let's send prayers his way and hope that he's feeling better. But I do have Robby here in the studio tonight. And DA, we do love you. We hope you feel better. And tonight, you guys, we're going to be talking about werewolves. All right, werewolves. There is a particular werewolf out of Texas that we're going to be talking about tonight. It's the Converse Werewolf. And we're also going to be talking about other werewolves as well. Maybe even the werewolves out of Werewolf Springs out in Tennessee. Robby and I had talked about that briefly a little bit in private. And tonight we're going to talk about it potentially a little bit on the show. But we're going to really focus on American werewolves tonight. So thank you guys again, like I said, for being here. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and my archives of all of my shows, please go to thecryptidhuntress.com. All of the events that I'm going to be at will be listed there, along with all of my shows. Anything y'all need to find out about the Cryptid Huntress, get into my personal business, y'all just go to my website. And let's see, including, I do want to tell you guys, I do have, I think there's a UFO conference coming up on January the 11th. And there's definitely, I know for sure, we have the East Alabama Bigfoot Town Hall coming up on January the 18th. So please come see me if you guys are in the Opelika, Alabama area in Eastern Alabama. I will be there along with Flat Rock, Tyler Howell, Dale Boswell, Bobby Dizzle, Stacy Brown Jr., and David Hewlett. And that's going to be a really fun event. So please come out and see me for that. And also, of course, I have some other events that are coming up, but those are the next two I'll be at. And I'm going to be a keynote speaker. He said the keynote speaker at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this year. So Robby, my friend that's here tonight, was there with me at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference the past 2 years. And that's when he and I had gone out and done some Bigfoot research together. We might have been surrounded by potentially some Dogman, actually, the last time we were out there. We'll talk about it a little bit tonight. Let's see what else we got here. Patreon. If you guys want to support my work, please join my Patreon. Thank you to all my Patreon members. I really love you guys. Thank you for all the support there. And War Women Goods. Yes, I have sent out all the packages so far. You guys have been amazing in supporting me through my shop for the Christmas season. Thank you guys so much for that. Free merch with purchase. Okay, if you guys buy there. And also, please let's all support our friend John Vendeventer right now and go to relicsbooks.com. And he is battling cancer right now and is not feeling well. He just started chemo this week. And so please lift him up in prayer. And we are in full hopes. And we know he'll be back next year to come hang out with us and do some more co-hosting with me here on the channel. So please go get your books over there. And also, we got Robby Rains here tonight. And he does a podcast called DA Ex Machina. And you guys, we got to support DA as well. Our good friend, he's been here on the show. We're going to have him back pretty soon. He's an author as well of some amazing books. So let's get to our show, y'all. Okay, let's get to it. I got to bring Robby up. I'm so excited to have him here. He is a good friend of mine. Let's get to it. Have y'all heard of the Converse Werewolf? I had not heard about this very much until our good friend Kenny Thibodeau, who is with the North American Dogman Project. He and I do bi-weekly shows together on his channel. It's called StarFox_media on YouTube. And so he was telling me about the Converse Werewolf on one of our shows that we did recently. And so tonight we are going to be covering that and much more. The Converse Werewolf is kind of a coming of age story that went terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. Legend says that during the 1800s, a Texas rancher wanted his 15-year-old son to come of age and become a man. So he instructed him to go out into the woods and unalive a deer for the family to eat. And the boy went out, and after a few days, he did not come home. A search party was formed to locate him, and eventually the rancher heard a noise in the distance. And he went towards that noise, hoping it was his son. And he found an 8-foot-tall creature that looked like a cross between a large ape and a wolf. And it was eating his son, according to legend. He fired shots at the creature, and the creature ran off into the woods, but it was too late to save his son. He did pass away, and the grief-stricken rancher did pass away of a broken heart. Some say that he had unalived himself. Nonetheless, it's a horrible story. It's really sad, but it's right there in the heart of the Dogman Triangle out there in Texas. And so tonight we're going to be looking into the Converse. It's called the Converse Werewolf. This was in a place called Converse, Texas. And we're going to look into this and other Dogman and werewolf cases from all over the South, all over the country, really, with our good friend Robby Rains. Let's see. Let me read Robby's bio real quick, because he's a police officer, and he had his first Bigfoot experience as a child. He's an active field researcher, investigator, and tracker. He is a co-host of DA Ex Machina podcast. He's a police officer out of South Carolina. And like I said, he and I have actually done some research together. We've done some boots on the ground work, and we've been in some sticky situations together. Please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Robby Rains.
Hey, Jess.
What's up, Robby?
Oh, same old, same old. How are you?
Same old, same old. You've been busy. I've been busy, just like you've been busy. You've been busy. You've got a new company, or you've had this company since you've been on
new addition to the company. Yeah. We're expanding a little bit. DA and I kind of brainchild an idea. I'd always wanted to be a blacksmith. That was kind of part of what got me into the woodworking. I needed something to supplement to be able to buy the blacksmith tools, and then the woodworking just kind of took over. So it kind of got put on the back burner, and some of y'all, you've heard me talk with Tyler, my daughter's boyfriend. He and I were talking, and he used to do it a little bit. So we just kind of got talking. Well, hey, why don't we start adding that to the Lone Wolf Customs? So we got talking to DA about what we were talking about doing. And DA and I just kind of come up with this idea. Hey, why don't we base some of the blades on some of the characters in DA's books? So it's just kind of went from there, and yeah, it snowballed for sure. So Tyler and I have been working our butts off in my garage to turn it into a forge.
Forge. So actually, so you're actually making the knives? I thought you were maybe just laser engraving knives, but you're
No,
actually making knives.
making them and laser engraving them.
Dang, Robby. No wonder you're busy. You're so busy. I love it. I love it. In addition, you're also a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I also work a full-time job, so my weekends are usually pretty packed. That's usually when I visit the UPS store and send off orders and go buy stuff and work on stuff, and yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And you guys are super busy over there at DAX Machina podcast, man. You guys are putting out some great shows, and having some great guests on. Y'all had Fred on the other night, right?
Well, he was supposed to be on, but something happened. His dad got sick, and he had to end up taking him to the hospital. So, he never got a chance to make it on. So,
I love me some Fred, man.
Yeah, I think he got back in touch with DA day before yesterday and said that he was going to come back on. I think we talked to Jesus the other day too. Pay on, he's going to be back on.
Nice. Jesus and I have done some good shows together. He's the one that really opened up. He opened me up to the hidden history of our country. It's not just, I know he's really into Bigfoot and other cryptids, but he and I did some really cool shows on star forts and timeline deception, like with like, we didn't talk about the mud flood or anything, but we talked about how there were like big cities built when we're supposed to be like all in horse and buggies and the Wild West, but really there's like these Greek and Roman architecture like buildings all over the country and stuff. Like, he's got a lot of knowledge on lot of stuff.
He and I sat down at one conference we were at, and he was going through pictures and showing me, and he got pictures that'll blow your mind. He's a good guy. He'll be back on soon. He was going to be on the other night, but he ended up having something to do. So he said, I'll get back with you. So I got to text him. I'll probably text him tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and get that set up. So yeah, he'll be back on the show. We got a part 2 coming up of our really interesting show about the tie-ins between Atlantis and Antarctica. We went and Hollow Earth theory. We went down a big time rabbit hole the other day on that one. And we've also started our Sunday night series called Campfire Stories, where we're reading DA's books and short stories and things like that. We just finished up his very first book, Ragnarok Rising, Awakening, and last Sunday we started on book 2, The Crucible. So we're just going back through some of his first, because there's a lot of people in there who'd never really even been aware of his first series. A lot of people didn't come in till the Wild Hunt or the Dark Frontier series. So we got to talk and said, let's go back and start reading the first books again. So we've been doing that. We do that on Sunday nights.
Oh, so, yeah.
We do 3 shows a week now.
I tune in. That's awesome. I'm so excited. I do four live shows a week over here now too, and so we've all kind of upped the game a little bit because it's so much fun. I know you guys you put your heart and soul into what y'all do over there, and so I feel you. And I try to be there as much as I can to support too, and so I'm happy to see you guys, and I hope that DA feels better. And
I think he's just he's kind of burning the candle at both ends. He's got so many stories running around. He's trying to get everything, so if y'all want to help him out, go buy a book. That'll help him out much as anything. Go. The Heart of Iron series. Y'all, I'm serious. I'm not a big sword and sword. I like the movies, but I'm not one to read a sword and sorcery book. But Heart of Iron is phenomenal, and it ties into the main universe too. And it's amazing. You know, you've laughed before because you've heard me and Doc call him the what's the nickname? It left me as soon as anyway, he's a Tom Clancy of Cryptids. There he goes. I knew he'd come
Clancy.
back. The Tom Clancy of Cryptid. And so this kind of made him the what's the guy who wrote Conan?
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, the Conan the Barbarian. This kind of put him in that realm. So yeah, y'all go check him out. D.A. Roberts or DARoberts.net.
Yeah. .net. Yes.
You can get all his books there.
All the times he's been on my shows, I always typed it in DARoberts.net. So you guys please go and support him too. We got to support our authors and people who support the cryptid community and who are a big part of the cryptid community. And he's also a boots on the ground field researcher too, just like you and I, Robby.
Yep.
And I can appreciate that.
We're Doc and I are in the midst of planning a trip up there. Hopefully end of January, 1st of February. So we got some stuff just going on that hopefully we'll be able to, because I have yet to go up there to Missouri and not get in the middle of something. I mean that is a interesting place. I mean, I sent you pictures of from Combs Ferry the next morning of that deer that was dismembered. I mean it's amazing in that place.
You did. That was really crazy. And also, you know, I've had Edie Testerman on my show, and Eric, what's up, Eric? If you're watching, Eric is so super cool. He said that I think DA is planning on coming out there and doing some paranormal investigations with him. And he had me remote view something. He gave me a blind target. And maybe I can get him to come on the show soon and talk about that, because I remote viewed something for him and I sent it to him, and turned out to be a location that he and DA are planning on investigating together. So it's haunted. I think it's like a jail or something. I'm not sure. There was a lot of unalivings there, according to my data. Okay. I
think I know where you're talking about. And if it's where I'm thinking, then yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yes, it's actually, that data was really weird. Lakeside Laura, hey Laura, she says, you got to tell me where to camp in southern Missouri. I'm right in the middle. I don't know where to camp. That's like where the Ozark Howler hangs out, Laura, just so you know.
Okay. I can tell you where not to camp. I don't know about where to camp. I can definitely tell you where not to camp. Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you could, you wouldn't want to go camp at Joe Bald or Combs Ferry, but you can't camp at those places anyway. But those are
Joe Bald. Whoa,
yeah.
Joe Bald. That's that area where DA
had that. You remote viewed that one.
A long time ago I did. I've actually included that in some of my presentations I give at conferences. It's I think that's a really good key piece of information for the disclosure community, because I did have a lot of like underground facility data and stuff like that. In addition to the Dogman, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
And if anybody wants to see what we're talking about, the video that she's talking about, it's on our YouTube channel on DAX Machina. Go look, Joe Ball breakdown video, and you can see the thing Jessica's seen the video. You can see the thing in the tree behind DA.
Yes. And
it will scare the you-know-what out of you.
You can see its hand. It looks like to me, it almost looked like a goat man or something when I first saw it.
To me, that is complete, total, 100% Dogman, werewolf, whatever you want to call it. Because when that hand comes around that tree, I mean, you can clearly, it looks like an oversized raccoon's hand with the big claws. I mean, you can, I'm getting cold chills thinking about it. I mean, the first time I went there, we went right to that bridge. And of course, you know me, Jessica, you know exactly what I did. Off up in the woods, I went pitch black, dead quiet, just like it was dead quiet when that thing come out, or those things come out the first time we were there. We stepped out of the car and it was like that. And
silent.
Oh yeah, it's like stepping into a vacuum. You could hear stuff like across the lake, which is miles and miles away. You could hear stuff going on, but right where we were at, right there in the Joe Bald area, nothing.
Really? Oh my
Step back.
gosh.
That's the night that we got out there with the 24-hour service fans, and we found the footprint, the big 16, 17-inch footprint. We were going to go back and cast it the next morning. Come back the next morning. There's a tire track through it.
Oh, that's right. Cover up for sure. Guess where I was today, Robby? I was in that same location. I didn't go to the same location where you and I have been, but I was in the same region. I was in the same area today. And let's see, I'm going to show some pictures real quick because I met a new friend today. I met a couple of new friends today, as a matter of fact. And one of them was an older gentleman. I was introduced to him as being Bill, but then right when I was leaving, he told me his name was Bob. So I'm confused. So I'm going to call him Billy Bob tonight. Okay. So Billy Bob, you guys might recognize this guy. I don't know if you do or not. But we were up at an area. That's a Dr. John Stamey right there. And this is Billy, my friend Bob or Bill.
Billy Bob.
Bill. I'm going to call him Bill or Bob. Okay. Bill or Bob. Right here. He is a dowser. And this is an old cemetery actually, that holds, I guess it's Civil War era soldiers and stuff right here in this old cemetery right by his house. It's in the middle of the woods up in North Georgia. And he was actually dowsing and showing me and showing us how to locate grave sites with dowsing rods. And so, Robby, you know, I'm familiar with like dowsing and finding water sources.
Yeah, I've watched my great grandfather do that years and years and years ago for water.
Yeah, for water. Well, okay, so he took it a step further today, and he was teaching me how to find running water and still water and all these different types of waters and the difference when you're dowsing for it. He's a retired electrician. He worked for all these different companies throughout his entire life. A fascinating man. But he has located hundreds of wells, WELLS, all across North Georgia where he lives for decades. And he's very accurate. And dowsing it is just, it's amazing. He actually took a piece of paper out of his pocket, and it was a Post-it note. He had drawn a little line with a number 2 pencil, so it had lead on it. And he put it on the ground, and he walked over and he said, watch, these dowsing rods are going to move and indicate when I go over this little piece of paper with the lead in it. And it did. It was wild. Like dowsing, people may diss dowsing. You know, I mean, I've been called a witch before for doing less, okay, than just dowsing. But dowsing is a very old, ancient tradition of a way to find water and stuff. Yeah. Okay. My dad did it with a stick when I was a kid.
Like I said, I've watched my great grandfather do it. I can remember watching him do it, and it works. How it works, I don't know. I assume it's got something to do with electromagnetic fields.
It does.
But it works if you know how to do it.
It does. And he actually took a bottle of water and he put it on the ground, and it didn't really indicate anything was happening when he went over it with his dowsing rods. But then he shook up the bottle of water. He shook it up really fast, and he put it back on the ground, and he went over it with the dowsing rods, and it indicated there was an anomaly there. And so it showed, he started explaining the protons and the neutrons and electrons and everything, and it made sense. So anyways, it's just something with, you know, it's just an indicator on how to find anomalies, I guess. Yeah. So it was really cool, but I learned how to find hidden buried grave sites today. So yeah, and that area, that's where he has Bigfoot encounters, Robby. The cemetery, for decades he's been having Bigfoot encounters there.
Well, you know, especially when you start talking about burial mounds, you know, Native American burial mounds, how many Dogman / werewolf, whatever you want to call them, sightings are linked to burial mounds? So I mean,
a lot.
There is always some kind of connection with with something like that in these cryptids, or a lot of them anyway. Because
That's right.
I mean, look at old Green Eyes. You know, you and I did a show on that. Death, destruction. There it was. There's been plenty of others almost exactly like that. I mean, you go back and look at some of the stories from back, and I'm talking way back, like before Bigfoot was a popular term, before any of this stuff. You know, back in the dawn of written time, basically, there's stories of things just like old Green Eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Old Green Eyes is weird too. It's like even okay. So I brought Greg Smith on my show with Backwoods Cryptids, and he lives in Chickamauga, and his specialty is researching old Green Eyes. And we were talking. It was a wonderful interview, but he kept telling me, he's like, well, we still don't know what old Green Eyes is. It could be a dogman, it could be a gugway, it could be a werewolf, it could be a Bigfoot, it could be something supernatural. He just doesn't know.
Well,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's multiple different descriptions of what it looks like.
Yes.
What people have seen. To me, that lends to either I say that there's possibly two explanations. One is some type of supernatural thing that just takes on whatever form it wants to, or that's just a place that draws cryptids in. We got to talking about that when I was at in the LBL with Woodwalkers for their little meet and greet.
Yeah.
You know, when Johnny and I were there, we were going to go live on DAX Machina. Everything we were on 30 minutes before the show, checking everything out. Tyler had 80% battery on his laptop. Everything was working fine. We had plenty of signal. Show goes live. DA's like, "Hey folks, how you doing?" Does his little thing and gets to me and says, "So tell us what's going on, Robby." And I get half a word out of my mouth and everything just dies.
Oh no.
I mean, like that. Battery died on Tyler's laptop. We lost service. Everything. Get a battery pack that had 100% on it. Plug it in, drains immediately. We had to bring a car down there and run a drop cord from a car with a power inverter that was running to actually keep power going to the laptop. Weird. So after we finally got everything back on, we start looking, go to find out that's a vortex. There's like 3 ley lines that run through LBL. It's awful interesting.
Yeah. That is. I can't wait to go to the LBL. That's on my list. It's on my list of things to do in 2025. And my one of my teams, Cryptid Warfare, I think we're planning a trip there next year. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of places with the vortexes and stuff and ley lines. Okay.
Yep.
Ley lines, the vortexes. The place that I went camping I'm going to say about 12 years ago up in Cashers, North Carolina, where I was watching the sky ships over Cashers one weekend, like two or three nights in a row. We watched these UFOs come in, and they kind of hovered over the mountain that we were camped out on for the entire night. Every night we were there. And Chief David, who I was with, he's an elder of the Cherokee up there. He was calling them in. Like he had like a rod with it was like a staff with like a crystal on it or something, and he would call them in. He was like, "Well, these are my people. I'm from the stars," is what he would tell me, and he would call those things in, and they would show up every single time up there. But while we were up there, there's a lot of weird stuff that happened. But he told me to stand in a certain point on top of that mountain, and he said, "Jessica, this is a vortex." And when I stood on it, I got dizzy. And it started kind of making a little bit more sense as to why we had so much activity there, because there was like a supernatural type of a vortex or like a portal right there.
Well, and I think it's down. Obviously, if you're more susceptible or not susceptible, and I don't want to say open because I'm not closed minded, but that. So maybe susceptible is a better word, because like when you were up there with Marty at the place where me and you went, y'all had like what time displacement and all this kind of stuff that happened, but
Well, that
it
was
was
a
just,
weird night.
but it was the same place. Nothing. I mean, other than what we went through with the creatures that were there. I mean, it was just there was nothing abnormal other than that to me anyway. So I think the person has a lot to do with the experience because
100%.
well, and think about it just in terms of the cryptid stuff. Think about you and I've went out twice and we've had two encounters.
Yeah.
Me and
Well,
DA went out 3 or 4
yeah.
times. We've had 3 or 4 encounters. That's the equivalent of the cryptid lottery, because how many people go out in the woods and spend years and never have? So I think people like you, me, DA were open minded to it, but it's a mindset too. So I think plus it's just like the tracking thing. Once your eyes are open to what you're supposed to be looking for, it's there. And I've used that analogy like if you get a new car, it's like you never see that car on the road, but you get that new car and every other car you pass is the same car you're driving, your new car, because your mind is looking for it. And I think it's almost a reverse psychology thing that if people are not open to seeing these cryptids, if they see a big black shape running across a field while they're on the road, automatically their brain says bear. No matter what it is, oh, look at the bear. So how many bear sightings have actually been cryptid sightings? You always hear, oh, it's a misidentified bear. When somebody says it was Bigfoot, oh, it's a misidentified bear. How many bears that people say, hey, I saw a bear the other day, wasn't even a bear? People don't think about it in terms like that. Because if you're closed-minded, you're automatically thinking, oh, that was a bear. That's all it could have been.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't want it. It's not even in there. It's not even the spectrum of possibility for most people. And so it has to be a bear. It has to be some sort of like a dog or a wolf or something like that.
Yep.
But I mean, you and I, okay, so we're going to be talking about werewolves tonight. But you and I had 2 separate experiences with different energies. Let's just say same type of us. Like it was the same. It was the same. What do you call it? It was almost like the same thing happened both years that we were out there, but
everything was identical except for what was around us. That's how I would.
Exactly. I was trying to figure out how to like explain that, because the first year it was like shocking to us kind of a little bit, because it was like we're talking really loud and the crickets were really loud. We couldn't figure out. I've never heard the bugs be that loud out there before. We were kind of screaming over the bugs to each other.
I've told people that it was like we were at a concert and we were like what, 3 feet apart maybe, if that.
Not even.
And having to, I mean, just like we were at really, talk as loud as we could just so we could hear each other. And it all of a sudden, just like that, it goes from like 140 decibels to nothing.
And we're still screaming when it got quiet.
That's one of them eerie, what the heck just happened moments.
Oh my God, what just happened, Kent? Thank you so
much. There you go. One of those what just happened moments.
What just happened, Kent? Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you. It says, Merry Christmas, Jessica. Get something really cool for your son. Oh my God. That is so sweet. Thank you, Kent Baxter. I appreciate that so much. My son will appreciate that too. Big time. My son actually asked me, I know he's watching right now, so I'm just going to say what he said. He was like, what's up, Ben? He said, Mom, don't worry. I don't want you to buy me anything expensive for Christmas this year. Santa Claus is going to get me all the expensive stuff. Okay, so I can't wait to see what Santa Claus brings him this year. Yes.
He's a smart kid.
He's a sweet boy, man. He's a sweet boy. And so are you, Kent. I appreciate you so much. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so that experience that you and I had was it wasn't shocking, okay, to me at all. But we were surrounded by something that seemed to be kind of more benevolent than malevolent. Okay, it didn't seem like it was there to hurt us, but we didn't know. Eventually we decided to go back down to the truck because we felt like we were being surrounded.
Yeah, and
that's never a good thing.
up until the point where we felt like there was something on the other side of your car. We never felt like it was any, but you're like, I think there's something down there. Maybe we don't need to get cut off from the car. And I said, yep, I think you're right. But it still never felt anything other than just curiosity. That's how I perceived it.
Yeah.
Was whatever was there was curious.
It was very curious. Well,
Totally
it was
different.
curious.
Totally different. Almost identical, but in one night in Combs Ferry, it went from curiosity to, okay, you crossed the line.
Territory.
Yeah, and it's when we passed that deer hide and that fish head. Larry asked a question earlier, and if he thought they were baiting us, no, that was a territorial marker, and that was don't cross this. And of course, you know what we did? We crossed it.
We got to, right?
Oh, of course, it's there.
That's what
why'd you climb that mountain? Because it was there.
Cross that line a little bit, but don't go too far. Okay, if you want the experience of it. So, I feel you. I know exactly how it is. Yeah. I have the utmost respect for the cryptids out there because I want them to respect me too, and it's a two-way game out there. Okay, if you want their respect, you got to respect them. And so that's what I do. I don't go out there like provoking and stuff, but I put myself in the middle of their territory, and that's kind of provoking in its own, right? Don't you think?
Yeah. Because if you don't understand, and this goes the same way with any predator, not just these cryptids. You have to understand nature in general. If you go out and you don't understand what you're out, it's like if you go swim in the ocean and you don't understand when you should and shouldn't swim in the ocean, and then you're opening yourself up for something bad to happen. Same thing with going in the woods. If you don't know what types of snakes are around, if you don't know what other types of big predators are there, what types of birds could you hear? What other kind of, things can you hear because you need to know because you see something strange on the ground and you think, oh, what kind of track is that? And you don't know what's in the area. You have to look at everything when you're going out. I want people to go out and I want people to experience stuff like we do, but you need to be safe and do it the right way. Yes. That's my soapbox on that.
Gotta be safe. Safety first. Okay, so you and I actually went back the next year. Okay, it's like we waited a whole year to hang out again. Okay, but you came back and we went to the same exact spot, and we had the almost identical experience, but it was a completely different energy out there, and you felt it and I felt it. We had my kid out there with us.
What? Even Ben?
Yeah.
And if you think about that, I was looking one direction, Ben was looking another direction, and you were looking a completely different direction. And we all three saw something. We saw the same thing. We didn't ever say anything right then and there what we were all seeing, but we all saw pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
We were all seeing these things moving around just in that shadow, where it was just out of your field of vision, or not your field of vision, but out of your range of vision.
Yep. They knew what they were doing, but it didn't feel like Bigfoot this time. It felt like something different. It didn't feel right. Of course, my son was saying S-walkers. He was like, skinwalkers, Mom. And you had more of a Dogman feeling. I was kind of on the fence of like either aggressive Bigfoot or maybe Dogman. That's what I was thinking. Which was it was weird because I'd never felt like that before out there.
I have felt that exact same feeling 3 times now, and I think all 3 times were Dogman. Once with me, you and Ben, once in the LBL, and once in Missouri with DA and Noah. And all 3 times, I think we were being hunted. I think we were being hunted that night.
Stop.
See, you never turned around and looked and saw them coming at us because you and Ben were already going down to the car. Because remember, I was turning around watching back. When I turned back around, and like I've told people when they ask, well, what did you see? I said, have you seen the movie Underworld? And most people are like, yeah, the very first one, when Celine's in that hall of that apartment complex, and those werewolves, lichens, whatever you want to call them, are jumping around on the ceilings and on the walls and on the floors. When I turned back around, after I told y'all, I said, let's go. And I turned back around to watch our backs, I saw 3 or 4 of those things bouncing all over the place coming down at us. And when I turned around, they stopped. And when they stopped, it was like they blended into the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I turned my head over my shoulder and I said, go to the car, get the keys, get in and get it cranked now. If you remember me saying that. And I spent the rest of the time walking down the hill facing, looking back, and that I actually cleared leather and was pointing at that point.
I saw it too. And just to let the whole entire audience know, my son was completely safe. I made sure we got him down to the truck and threw him in there and locked the doors, and he was fine. Okay, he was fine. Nothing was going to happen to him. We weren't expecting that to happen.
No,
yeah.
That was the one and only time that I have seen something get that close.
Yeah.
And that's just how I felt. I felt like we were being hunted. I know you say stalk. That's what you felt. When I turned around and looked, and the posture and the stance and the movement, that was just what it felt like to me.
It did. Yeah. I mean, I was actually on Dogman Encounters last night with Vic Cundiff, and that's just something that I didn't mention. I didn't mention that last night about that because, I don't know if I've ever really had a Dogman experience, but if I did, if I ever have, that would have been a Dogman experience, I think. And I'm not positive that was Dogman, but that would be the one experience I've ever had where I do believe that was, there's a 50-50 chance that was Dogman for sure. At least 50-50, probably more. It was something different for sure.
Like I said, I feel like Joe Ball that night when me and DA and Noah were down there, the night that the Robby Wrangler was born, Noah became the Robby Wrangler.
Yeah.
That was same feeling, same movement, everything was the same. Same thing that night in LBL. The way that things were happening, the way it felt like we were trying to be kind of herded, for lack of a better term.
We were herded. That's a good point. Yeah, we were like, they were like Australian shepherds, and we were like the whatever, livestock. That's what it was. We were being herded back to our car. It was for our own safety, I think. It really was. So I hate to say that, but that's true. At least because, it's because I look back on that a lot and I think about it and I'm thinking, well, it's probably because my son was there. He's a kid. Okay, like I did not think that it would be like, I've never, I don't take him out to like the research areas where we have like real, like any dangerous spots. I've never taken that as a very dangerous spot before. But that night it was kind of, it was like we were instructed to get him out of there is what that was. That's what that was. That's how I took it. And I'm glad you were there with me because it feels good to have a law enforcement official there with me to have my back. And that's how it was that first time that we went out there together too. And it is the people, it's not just, and it's the area. And the reason we do have a lot of activity out there is because we know there's activity there. Okay. I know there is. And so that's why we went there. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we went there, but it's us, but it's because of us.
And that's what I'm saying. Because I don't think, obviously you have to have an area too, like you said.
Yeah.
But how many people go to hotspots throughout, like the LBL? How many people go through the LBL every day? And not every one of them sees something or has an encounter. But they're not all out there looking for it either. They don't all know what to look for. They're not out there at the right times. And, it's like fishing. That's why they call it fishing. They don't call it catching. That's why they call it hunting. They don't call it, you have to be in the right mindset. You have to have everything lined up, but you also have to be, open. I hate to keep using that term open-minded because
true,
but you have to be. If you go out there expecting to not see anything and like, there's nothing out here, I'll never see anything. You're not going to see it.
Right. Keep an open mind about it for sure. For sure. Now, let's get into a little bit of this werewolf talk tonight because we're kind of setting the tone for you and I potentially having a Dogman encounter. Okay, multiples. It wasn't just one. Both times that you and I have been out in the field together, we have been surrounded by multiple creatures, from Bigfoot to potential Dogmen. And there is a case out of Texas, and this is something I had not heard of before. I want to give full credit to my buddy Kenny Thibodeau. He and I do shows every other week with the North American Dogman Project, and he's with them, and I do a show on his channel actually. So it's not their channel, but it's his channel. And so he brought up the Converse Werewolf, and this is from the 1800s. And Robby, you and I both know that there's a lot of newspaper articles from back in the 1800s and the early 1900s of wild men. And,
wild man, hairy man, wild man of Borneo.
Yeah. It's almost like I like to say, and I've said this before, I've gotten myself in trouble. Like at the Georgia Bigfoot conference, they had a reporter from the newspaper office there. And I was like, back when they used to tell the truth with the newspaper articles, that guy got mad at me. He didn't get mad. He called me out after the thing. He was like, well, some of us are still honest, Jessica. So I felt bad. I was referring to CNN and stuff. I don't know. Just media in general.
Yeah.
But he was nice. I'm sure he tells the truth. But
I'm sure out there somewhere there's some honest reporters, but
yes. Just as long as it's not like big media. Is that what you call it? Like the big media and stuff?
Yeah, mainstream media.
Yeah, but see, back in the 1800s, they just had small newspaper companies. They were in every town, and we still have newspaper companies in every town, just about. But it's not as prominent because we have the internet. We have our cell phones now, and we have access to everything on our phones and our laptops. Okay, so anyways, let's just say back in the 1800s, there were a lot of reports of hairy men, wild men, things like that. Well, there are also stories of werewolves. They called them werewolves, giants and werewolves, all sorts of stuff. But there's some cases out of Texas. Now, Robby, for whatever reason, there's a lot of Dogman reports out of Texas to this day. Goatmen are prevalent. Dogmen are prevalent, and werewolves are prevalent, and pterodactyls are prevalent.
The Dogman Triangle.
Yeah, the Dogman Triangle in werewolves. Well, back in the 1800s, there was a case. It was called they call it the Converse Werewolf because it was a place in Bexar County. And you guys know, if you've been watching my show, we had Rod Nichols here, who was with Bexar County Bigfoot. And we talked about the Dogman Triangle when he came on my show. Lots of werewolf and Dogman reports out of that area. He is an active boots on the ground field researcher when it comes to Bigfoot. And but we talked about Dogman that day. And this case is from the 1800s. Now, this is of legend. Okay. I could not find any newspaper articles on this. Okay, I couldn't find any kind of real hardcore evidence of this really happened. Just passed down oral tradition. I'm going to say tradition, stories, and there's a particular author that had written an article about it, wrote a story about it. Let me see here. I can't see well at night, so good luck with me reading this. Let's see. There was a story written by Michael Mays. His name is Mays. Michael Mays. Okay, Eminem. All right, he wrote a story about this, and it's kind of like on the slant of like folklore, but many people say this really happened. This is a true story, and a lot of times, Robby, we both know that a lot of legends and lore are true events, especially today, right?
I've said multiple times before on our show that every legend, every folklore tale is based in truth somewhere. There's, no matter how small or how big, there's truth in every one of these legends and folklores. And I mean, it's just how it is. I don't think anybody was out there and just started making stuff up. I don't think, somebody saw something. May not have been what it what it's turned out to be later on, but somebody saw something that started all these legends that we have.
Yeah, something did. I mean, they don't just, show up out of nowhere. There's some sort of truth behind most legends. Even Pigman and stuff when I was growing up. I mean, I found some truth behind it. Once you start doing your research and you start digging into stuff. I mean, I used to do stories like with my mass media class of local legends and lore around my hometown. And we would go, we'd hear about these things. We'd go at night to go get chased by Pigman out in, I'm just going to say it, Villa Rica, Georgia. Okay, there's a place called Villa Rica, Georgia. I know I'm not pronouncing. That's how we pronounce it here in the South, Villa Rica. And there was a pig man there. And the story went, that there was a man that had unalived his entire family and buried him under the front room of his house and all this stuff that just, it sounded just fantastical. It sounded crazy, right? But we get chased out from behind his house. Something would run at us every time, we'd go out there. And so I took my camera crew out there. We had a little camera, went out there. We started digging into the research of it. We found out that, yeah, there was some bad stuff that happened at that house. Took my camera out there and made a little video about it. And sure enough, the front room was, there was a hole in the floor of this house, and it was dug down like 6 to 8 feet down into the ground. Like bodies had been dug up from this. Okay. So it was wild. So like something that was just legend and lore, I think it probably really happened. Okay. Like it probably at least elements of this were true, of these stories.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that the Converse Werewolf, I think that this could be a true story. I think it could.
Yeah. I think, what we were talking about earlier, I know where my train of thought goes with it and what I think it is that he saw. And, we've talked about the misidentifications before. I think it goes further than just saying, oh, that Bigfoot was a bear, or that thing I saw was a bear, or anything like that. I think misidentifications of people who are actually believers in cryptids happen a lot more than is thought about.
Yeah.
I personally think what the guy ran across, I don't know, you want me to get into it now and say it, or you want to hold it off for a second? Or
yeah,
I think it was a gugway.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too, actually. The Converse Werewolf. I'm going to get it. Okay, let's get into the story about it. Okay, we're almost an hour into the show. Let's finally get into what we're talking about today. Robby, we just had a lot of catching up to do, y'all. I'm sorry, I hadn't seen Robby in so long, so we had to catch up. So let's get into it.
Well, anybody that's in the chat that listens to us understands this.
That's how we roll, y'all, and that's how Robby and DA roll too over there, over on y'all's channel. I love it. Everybody, y'all understand. It's all good. It's Saturday night. I've been Bigfooting all day and locating graves with dowsing rods today. So, okay. I'm just glad I'm here tonight. I'm glad you're here with me. Okay, so in the 1800s, a Texas rancher moved to Converse, Texas. Now, he had a little boy who was 15. He had just come of age. He was coming of age. And he wanted his kid to be a man, to do manly stuff. And so he sent his son out into the woods to go unalive a deer. Okay. He wanted him to go get a deer so they could, have the meat and whatever for, pack the meat so they can have some food for the winter, whatever. And the boy was frail. Okay. The story goes like the boy was frail. He was not manly. Okay, let's just say, I know that sounds crazy, but the dad was kind of like, you're not, you need to become a man. All right. You're too frail. Prove to me that you were a man. Go out into the woods and don't come back till you have a dead deer. And so the kid went out. He was only 15 as a child. Okay. That's a little kid to me. And so he gave the boy a rifle and told him to bring home the bacon. They needed the meat. And so he directed him to a heavily wooded area in a creek called Skull Crossing. The boy was reluctant, but he went. He had to go impress his dad. He had never unalived anything in his life, but he was finally going to go do it. And a few hours later, the dad heard his son screaming. And so the kid was running back to, the kid ran back home. And the dad was like, well, why are you here? He was like, Dad, I heard something. I saw something. I don't know what it was. It's not cool. He said it looked like something like a werewolf. That's what he told his dad. He said, I don't want to go back. I just saw a werewolf, Dad. And the dad was like, oh, shut your trap and get back out there. Okay, so the dad was kind of an a-hole, if you know what I mean. He was like, no, get back out there and go bring home a deer. And so he forced his son. The legend goes that he forced his son to go back into the woods and to go get the deer. The kid was scared to death, and he was inexperienced. He'd never been in the woods before. And the kid went back, and then the kid was never seen again. For several days, they didn't see this kid. And the dad went looking for him. I don't know why he didn't go back like the next day. I would have been going back to look for my kid. Okay, I wouldn't let the kid go, first of all. But the dad went back, and when he got back to the Skull Crossing, they say that they had a search party set up that went to go look for this kid. And they heard a noise. They went towards it, and they said that when they got there, they stumbled across about an 8-foot tall furry creature that it said it was like a mix between an ape and a wolf. And they said it was standing over, it was like hunched over the son. It was eating him. And yeah, it was eating the kid. And so the kid, I think the dad shot at it. I think they shot at it and stuff. And but it was too late because the kid was already dead. And so that is the story. They said it was 8 to 9 feet tall. 8 to 9 feet. That's huge. And they call it now the Converse Werewolf. The dad was so upset about what happened. Within a few months, he had died too, according to the legend. He passed away. They say some people say that he committed suicide over it.
Yeah, to me, it's just like that. Which one is it? Is it the top 3 variant on the Dogman? I think Da and I have talked about this at ad nauseum about it. That we believe that's a misidentified Gugway. Yep, top 3. That.
Yep.
I mean, if you ran across that in the woods and you saw it from the side, especially back then when, so the top 3 on the top, I don't believe that's a Dogman. I believe that's a Gugway.
Probably
maybe, so you ran across that in the woods and you couldn't, as we've come to talk about on our show, if you couldn't get on the Googles and look things, you can't get on the Googles and look it up back then. You just had to go with what you knew. And if it looked like a big wolf because of the snout and the long canines and things like that, I mean, that's where you would get stuff like that. I think that very well could be a Gugway that they ran across.
It could. So I put it in the AI tonight when I got home from being out in the field. Like I had not set the show up yet. When I got home, I was like, I put it in the AI. I was like, half wolf, half ape. This is what I got. Okay. It's actually a pretty good representation. Okay. I was like, man, it does look like an ape a little bit and a wolf. Good job, AI. This is usually not a good job, AI, but tonight it was a good job.
I mean, kind of looks like be a Gugway.
It could be. I mean, imagine. I would imagine a Gugway looking bigger than that and stuff, but I don't know. Who's to say? I have not seen one yet, so I don't know. I haven't seen a Gugway, I don't think. But I thought that was kind of a good representation there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, good job. Like I said, good job, AI. That doesn't happen often. Now, I want to show, like, this is the area. This is where this happened. And it is right there in the area of the Dogman Triangle, is what they call it. I don't know if that's Small Town Monsters who came up with that
Yep.
term or
Well, I
who.
don't know if they came up with it, but that's they did that show on it, or one of the documentaries on it, which pretty good if you want to see a good documentary.
Not too far from San Antonio, you guys. I've been to San Antonio. I love San Antonio. It was beautiful. They have the river walk there. I went to the
Well,
Alamo.
you know,
Okay.
you got the big thicket that's right in the middle of the the Dogman Triangle,
Yeah.
and think about how many Bigfoot sightings and things like that are in the big thicket area. That's some nasty area. Johnny actually used to live around there, and he said that's a hot spot.
Really? I
Mm-hmm.
wonder why. Why do they have so many Dogman encounters there? Like, what's going on there?
I don't know what one area makes one area more appealing to a Dogman than a Bigfoot, and then some areas appeal to both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Colleen says, my sister said she saw a black creature that looked like a wolf and a mountain lion. This picture is similar to what I imagined she saw. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting picture right there. I mean, like I said, good job did the AI this time around. AI usually does a terrible job when I put something in. To interpret what I'm trying to convey.
I
AI
mean,
usually completely ruins. Terrible. It's my fault, I'm sure.
honestly, if you took the wolf ears away and gave it more
Hmm.
primate type ears, that would look to me just like what you could expect a ugly to look like.
That's what I think too. Do you think they have a tail?
Probably not, but I mean,
Not.
who knows? I mean, good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
if it just
does.
kind of like a baboon, it possibly could have a tail. Who knows? Because baboons have tails,
It
or
could.
not mandrills have tails.
Yes. Okay. Now here is a chart kind of to show the height difference between a human and something that would be 8 feet tall or so. I mean, let's just say that gentleman right there is 6 feet tall. Um, these Bigfoots look to be about 8 feet tall. Okay, so that's how big they are. Gigantic, very massive. Okay, very massive. And so just for a size reference, this is what they encountered out there. This is what they said was eating the child, the kid. So super big, super scary. Imagine, and I'm out there hunting these things. Okay, I know. I was on a Vic Kundo show last night. My friend, my buddy Drew, and I were on there together talking about our dogman hunting that we've been doing. We have literally been going out in the woods, and we had a dogman. I want to say I'm going to say investigation. I know hunting sounds like we're out there to try to tag them and bag them or whatever. I don't know. Like, we're not doing that. We're out there investigating them. Okay, but we're prepared if we have to protect ourselves. That's the only difference. But it is kind of dumb when you think about it. I'm like, when I think about it, I mean, I'm ready. I've been doing Bigfoot research for a long time, Robby. But it's like, man, if something is 9 feet tall and it looks like this, and I'm out there, I would hope that it's not out there to try to eat me. Okay, that's bad.
Yeah,
That's really bad. Like, what am I doing?
because more than likely, there's not just one of them.
There's a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
What were we doing out there in the mountains that night? Imagine if this is what we were surrounded by that night. Yeah. So yeah, this is what we do for fun, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie,
Don't even get paid for it.
I do. We don't even get paid for it. We paid to go do this for ourselves. Okay, this is an expensive hobby that we're
Mm-hmm.
doing. We are paying for us to go, or we are sponsoring ourselves to go out there to potentially be eaten by these things. Is what we're doing. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, I think it's pretty cool though. It's pretty cool. It really sucks. This story, this is from the 1800s allegedly. Okay, this is a legend. Like I said, I cannot find any proof this happened. But then again, we can't find proof that the attack of the family at the LBL happened. right?
You know, because they scrub stuff like that off the internet so quick. Because, you know, DA and I were talking about that the other day. The story of the two bicyclists. You know, we found that, and then almost as quick as we found it, it was gone.
Hmm.
So, I
And
mean,
this is coming from a law enforcement official here, y'all. This is Robby is a longtime police officer out of South Carolina. Okay.
too long.
I love the credentials there, man. You know, it's really interesting that so many people that I go out and do field research with are actually law enforcement officials.
Well, you know, and that's we've talked about that so many times before. That, you know, I've put so many people in jail based on a sworn statement from somebody, and that's good enough to put somebody in jail and take away their, you know,
Really?
their freedom. But it ain't good enough to say that Bigfoot we saw is real. Blows my mind.
Whoa. It's weird how that works. That's strange. Um, have you okay from at your job? Have you ever had any reports that you had to go answer to, like 911 calls? The dispatchers send you off to like a call where someone has seen a, let's just say, like a dog that got up and ran off on two legs, or a Bigfoot, or anything like that. Because you're kind of
Well,
you're out in the country, right?
yeah, well, where I live's in the country, but my agency that I work at, we've got some. I mean, it's a city, but you know, there's some rural say that word, rural areas to it. But obviously the surrounding counties that is pretty rural. But you know, we were talking about that a couple months ago. Somebody asked that question, exact same question, and I've never had a call put out that way, but we've had a lot of calls of what we call them prowlers, which is 10 codes 1080 suspicious person, but that's it. You don't get a description of what that person looks, especially at night. I just, you know, just a prowler. Never caught that prowler, but you know, you get out there and then people are like, you say, okay, well, what happened? Well, I don't know. I just heard something. Well, what did you hear? Well, I heard somebody walking around outside. Did you see anything? No. Look, and you didn't see anything. And you go out walking around looking, you don't see any sign of anybody out there. So who knows? We very well could have, because I know when we started talking about that, DA and I both were like, you know, we've probably both each answered hundreds of calls just like that.
Oh yeah,
So
lots of unidentified prowlers in the area.
yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, Eric. We probably have, but not what you're specifically talking about, because I know what you're specifically talking about, and no, I have not had that kind of call. Thankfully, y'all just have to read the book to figure out or find out what he's talking about.
Uh-oh. Okay. What's up, Eric? Eric's in the chat. Edie Testerman. Robby, you never had a Lakeview man light call. I got to figure out what this Lakeview man call is.
Read the book and
I will read it. Okay.
read the book and
It's
help
one
me
of
out.
DA's books.
Help me out, Eric. It's after they were at McDonald's when they were all three of them were eating at McDonald's and they get the call. That's when that happens, I believe. When you get to them having their supper at McDonald's and the call they get, you'll know what he's talking about. It's funny, and minus the Bigfoot stuff that happens within that call. Take the Bigfoot stuff out. Everything else that happened in that call was based on a true story.
On a true story. So
Yeah.
DA actually takes true stories and kind of incorporates them into his books. I can appreciate that.
Yep.
Wow. That's why I was curious as to, like, if you've had any kind of encounters, like, or any calls that you've been, any kind of calls you've been dispatched to. You know, when I lived out in the last place I lived, where in my hometown where I grew up, I had a family member who was a lead dispatcher at the 911 call center, sheriff's department, and she would let me know, and she was good friends, and I was good friends with a lot of the deputies there. and the sheriff. My uncle was a sheriff out there for a long time. But I was friends with a lot of the deputies, and they would talk about taking calls. That one woman had called in and she was frantic, and she said she and her husband had hit a dog. They thought they had run over a wolf or some kind of large dog, and they were freaked out because they said that after they hit it, it ran into their car. They ran over it, of course. It's like they were blaming the dog, right? But they hit it. It hit their car. They said that it rolled for a second and then it got up and it ran off on two legs. And they were freaked out. And guess where that was, Robby? 1 mile from my house. That was 1 mile from my house.
I've worked a few single car wrecks where they claimed that they hit a bear, but there was no blood. Couldn't find the bear, nothing. So a lot of damage to the front, which I know a big black bear would do a lot of damage to a car if you hit it, but still you would think you would find something. But it, dark, big black shape ran out in front of it. It had to be a bear because of how bad it damaged my car. Look, it had to be a bear. I mean, if it had been a dog, the dog would have died and it would have been right here. So yeah, there's probably been stuff like that I've answered that has been stuff like that. But like I said, I've never gotten a call about a suspicious creature walking around the house because a lot of people are not going to, if they do see something and they think it's that, a lot of them are not going to call dispatch and say Bigfoot's out here, because they're like, okay, they're going to think I'm crazy, so I'm just going to say there's a suspicious person outside my house because that way they'll get here. So
yeah. They're not going to take you serious if you're like, I got a Bigfoot looking in my window.
yeah.
I saw I don't know why I thought of this. I saw a really creepy video. I think it was all a setup. I don't think it was real, but I don't know. This person was like, I've been seeing this white owl looking in my window every night. And so they're like, start filming it because they're like, this white owl came back. And so they start filming in the window and they cut on their front porch light. And it was like a person with a mask on. It was so weird. It was really creepy. I think that a lot of these are set up. They're not real probably, but that was creepy as hell, by the way. Humans are way scarier than cryptids, in my opinion. Okay. Not always, but in my experience, yeah.
Bob, can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog? I say that all the time. My son says that too. That's one of our go-tos. Yeah, if I were to see a Bigfoot, I'd be like, can I pet that dog? Yes. I mean, we're out there with Bigfoots all the time. Yeah.
I'm glad that saying wasn't popular when we were at Joe Bald and I was going after that thing, because I'd have probably been saying, I want to pet that dog. And Noah would have been like, get your butt back over here.
All right. Oh my gosh. We got to keep a little bit of humor going in really tough, tense moments. Okay, tough, tense moments. We have a lot of those when we're out there chasing monsters in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
We do. And yeah. True, you don't really know when the perp is gone when you get there. That's true, Eric, for sure.
Yep.
I've read so many stories of, and I say that like I remember reading. Da is a fantastic author. My friend John Bendeventure is also a fantastic author when it comes to supernatural and cryptid stories as well. And in one of his books in the Relic series, they talk about. You'll have to read it, y'all. You'll have to read it. Okay, I'm not going to give it away, but it reminds me of that. It's like. People call in, let's just say, and this is based off real life events. People will call in, they have like a man looking in their window or they have whatever, but it ends up not being a man. It's a Bigfoot. Okay. It's a Bigfoot, and the law enforcement doesn't know how to handle it very well. And sometimes those law enforcement officials disappear when they're out back trying to find what it was and stuff. It may be a part of his books, y'all. I don't know. You'll have to read it. But it brings some realness to what's really going on out there. That's what's really going on, Robby, right? But it brings some kind of like facts to some of these books that people like DA are writing, putting things like that in there. But y'all, like I always say, don't live in fear, y'all. Don't live in fear, but just know what's going on out there. Okay, all these cryptids and stuff. So I have not heard a lot of stories about people being eaten by werewolves, though. Have you, Robby?
Uh, the well, obviously the story we're talking about tonight, the one in LBL or the two in LBL, the family and then the two bicyclists. But other than that, I mean, I can't remember if Werewolf Springs was. Oh yeah, the Werewolf Springs, because that was one of the guy's servant when they jumped out of the wagon and the guy went one way and his servant went the other, and the servant ended up going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. He did get unalive.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
did. And the guy sat there and said had to sit there and listen all night or most of the night.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So what we're talking about, y'all, is the Werewolf Springs incident. I've actually been in. I don't want to say negotiations, but we've been kind of throwing the idea around of actually going to Werewolf Springs with my team. But they say you have to hike in 10 miles to
It's a
get
hike.
there. And when we went to Alabama to that Dogman hunt, we hiked in 5+ miles, and it was like the middle of summer, and it was hot. And for everybody who keeps up with my adventures, y'all know we backpack camped. So I was in a Dogman burrito, basically. Okay, and that's okay. I enjoy being in a Dogman Bigfoot burrito. I don't mind it out there in the field, but it's not super safe. It's adventurous. Okay. And we usually do have one person, at least one or two people that'll stay up. We take turns sleeping, okay, to make sure that our base camp's safe and everything. But we're out in the middle of nowhere. 5 miles was a lot, Robby. That was a long hike.
Yeah, especially in the heat.
Yeah, and this uphill both ways is what it felt like.
And
It
12
was
feet of
rough.
snow.
With copperheads and rattlesnakes and everything out there. So yeah, it kind of sucked a little bit, but it was fun.
Well, I can't. Obviously, I said we're going back to Missouri, but I can't wait to get to Alabama with Greg House because there's some good stuff going on around Greg's man cave. He gets. I've heard from multiple people. He was on the phone with River Morris and Jeffy Arrington. They were doing just a 3-way call group chat, and River and Jeff both heard something smack Greg's. He's got one of those big propane tanks out behind his man cave. It smacked it so loud that they both heard it over the phone.
Wow.
Said it. River told me that he with his own voice told me, he said it sounded like a church bell ringing. It slapped it so hard.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. You said that's in Alabama?
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me the region. Do you know what region of Alabama that's in?
Yeah. Somewhere near Anniston, because we got to talk. Those classes that I go to for the Emergency Preparedness Center down there in Anniston. Yeah, because he said, "Well, what do you know about Alabama?" I said, "Well, I go down to Anniston for that." He said, "Oh, I'm not far from that at all." Which, think about where that is in Anniston. That's on an old military base.
Yeah.
Which butts up to, surprise, surprise, a national forest.
Talladega over there. Yeah, I mean, I go out to Talladega pretty, I'm not gonna say often, but I go out there sometimes. We got
Shocker, right?
Chihuahuas out there. Yeah, and they actually have a lot of Bigfoot activity out there. I know for a fact they do.
Oh yeah.
And if you go to the guard house, I guess you call it the guard house or whatever, I don't know. When you go to Chihuahua, and you have to go sign in if you want to go get a camping spot there or whatever you're doing. get a park pass for the day. You go inside that little shop in Robby. It is wall to wall Bigfoot memorabilia, plushies, magnets, keychains, T-shirts, mugs, cups, socks, whatever. It's all Bigfoot. Everything. The entire place. I was shocked when I went.
G-Man, Werewolf Springs is in Tennessee.
It's in Tennessee. That's right, Tennessee. Tammy has a question. Jessica, can dogmen mind speak like Bigfoot? Would they be able to understand you and respect them? Yes, absolutely. I do believe so. I think some of them, yes, could. I've actually heard of dogmen speaking words, verbally speaking to people before. I don't know the validity to that. I've had at least one or two people say that before. I cannot confirm. I wasn't there. However, that's what I've been told, that they'll say something like a person's name, like Pam or something. I don't know. Robby. And you know, you go back in the day of like the back in the day, like old world maps where they have the cynocephaly on the old world maps and stuff. They have civilizations of dogmen. And in the history books, not the ones we're taught in our public school system, but in some of the history books, they say that in some of the diaries, I guess you could say, they say that they would speak, they'd bark, and they would say, you know, primitive words and stuff. Like, you know, it was real short. You know, they weren't like philosophers, okay, and stuff, but they would speak a little bit because they did trading and stuff with the regular humans. So I would assume they're still doing that today. Not trading with humans. I don't know. Maybe they do. But yeah, really interesting. I think they do mind speak. I think most cryptids do mind speak. And that's why my team, part of the reason my team has been trained so heavily in remote viewing and the psychic skills is so that we can learn telepathy and how to mind speak with cryptids and stuff. So great question though. Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate that. So Robby, you think that this could be a Gugway that attacked that little boy?
Yeah.
Right. You're okay. I think that you're right. I think that it's probably a Gugway too, because werewolves would indicate that that would be like black magic. It'd be like a human that had transformed, right?
Well, I mean, in any, you know, when like you was talking about cynocephaly and things like that. That's where go back to King Lycan, where the you know the lycanthrope actually came from, or Lycaon, however you want to pronounce it. I say Lycan, but it's just like we said earlier. All these stories have some type of grain of truth, or some, you know, no matter what size of the truth, there's some grain of truth to it. So let's say that these things that, and you know me, I'm firmly in it. It's an animal. It's some type of. I do believe there are demons out there that, because if you look at some of these, and I know I'm kind of veering off here for a second, but bear with me. If you look at these, there's really two types of encounters when you hear about Dogman. Listen to DA's encounter. It's sitting there. It was kind of off the road. It was kind of watching. It noticed that the car was slowing down. Noticed that DA and them were slowing down, looking at it. It took off. You know, exhibits the behaviors of an animal. Because what other wild animal usually sits there and watches you like that? Not too many. You know, they see you, they take off. Or you get the ones that say red eyes, hell beast, demon, demonic. Hell, those are the words they use to describe it. I feel like that there are supernatural things out there that you know, you get those types of things, and that's when you have those encounters. So that's where things like werewolves came from. But I also believe that there are, you know, just normal animals that fit this description too. If something like that is what scares you the most, a werewolf if a demon is trying to appear to you and do something to you, I just believe that it's going to appear as what scares you the most, because that's what it's supposed to do, is strike fear in your heart. So the Ghostbusters theory, I tried to think of the most nicest thing I could. Now we got an 800-foot marshmallow coming at us, because I think that's where a lot of that stuff comes from, is that you had people talk about werewolves where people changing back and forth. I just think that's probably a demonic entity, is what they were seeing with that kind of stuff. And it just goes from there, because people use the term Dogman, but that phrase wasn't coined till what, the 1987 or 89, I believe. Bigfoot 50s is when that first came out. But now it's just like, you call every soft drink a Coke, or you call every tissue a Kleenex. It's a brand name. That's not, it's just that's the cool and popular terminology now. My 2 cents worth, anyway. Jessica, you're muted.
I didn't even mute myself. That's so weird. I was totally muted. I'm sitting here
I thought it
talking.
was I was looking, and I was like, I kept watching to see if anybody would say it was me, because I
I'm
was
so
talking.
sorry. Oh, maybe I did. I did mute I probably did mute myself because I was moving my legs around and my chair is squeaky. So dang it, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Robby. I'm just over here. I'm trying to. I'm lip syncing over here. So I know I had Daryl Denton on the show about 3 weeks ago or more. I don't know when it was. It was probably like about a month ago. And he was talking about his personal encounters with Bigfoot and Dogman, and we were talking about the demonic aspect of all of this. And a few years ago, if you had asked me if I thought Bigfoots could be demonic, I would have been like, no, no, I don't think so. The red eyes, the red eye glow, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's demonic. But now I don't know, Robby. I think there is a demonic aspect to some of these cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
I do. The more that I'm getting into it, the more I'm learning, the more I'm experiencing. I think there is a demonic aspect to it. So, and you've got that right about the getting into your head, and it's like your biggest fear will be reflected to you.
Yeah, and that's when people talk about mind speak. I don't think and I'm not trying to, throw shade on it. So I believe that when you're hearing mind speak, a lot of times that's what it is. It's a demonic spirit trying to get into your head to find out what you're scared of, because there's something that it wants from you. That's just my opinion. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Opinions are like noses. We all got one, and they're all different.
Noses. Oh my God. Some people
Well,
say whenever.
I could have said something else, but I was trying to be politically correct on it.
No, that's funny. No, I like noses too. That's funny. Um, that's funny. Oh gosh, Colleen says a little person spoke to my brother telepathically. Sasquatch can communicate too. I hear. I wonder if Dogman can too. I think Dogman can too. I think pretty much all cryptids can. It's almost like, I'm not going to say they're more highly advanced than we are, okay, but they tap into stuff that we don't always tap into, or our abilities have been suppressed for a long time and looked down upon. Like I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned earlier in the show that I had been called a witch for doing remote viewing and stuff. And, I never claimed to be psychic and all that kind of stuff. But when I talked about remote viewing, it's like, oh, you're a witch, whatever. Things like that, when people are accused of stuff like that, it makes you suppress your abilities, your psychic abilities. And so your telepathy, like we're all capable of doing telepathic communication and being psychic. We're born that way. Okay. But it's so suppressed. And we also have things like telephones. Telephones replaced telepathy, Robby, by the way. That's why it's called a telephone. Tele, right? And so we
Could
don't we don't
be.
we don't have to use our telepathy. We have telephones. It's like artificial, right? We have like artificial telepathy right here. It used to be like when you think about somebody, they sometimes I'm not gonna say used to be. How many times, Robby, have you thought of somebody and then your phone rang and it was them, or your phone
Sure,
rang?
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but I'm sure that's happened.
Yeah, or like your phone rang and you just knew it was somebody and you looked at it and it was them, right? That kind of stuff. That's kind of like telepathy, right? That's telepathy. So, it's being psychic. It's tuning in, and and things that live out in the wild, creatures that live out in the wild. Let's just think about Bigfoot, for instance, and Dogman. They don't have telephones. Okay, like their telepathy has not been replaced by something electronic. Okay, so they're going to be more tuned in. They're going to be telepathic. They're going to be all that. So, anyways, that's like my little tangent there on that. And I think that cryptids are more prone to being telepathic than we are humans. But that's just because we don't tap into it. We're made to feel like we are crazy if we do stuff like that, or it's bad, or we're witches, right? So
Well, I
that's just
mean,
my 2 cents.
you know, if I went back to, the old West and had this and it would work, any science or technology that's farther advanced than what can be understood is considered magic. If I went
Magic.
back, to the 1800s with a big lighter that we know and understand through science right now, they would burn me at the stake for being a warlock.
Oh
And
my God. Yes. Yes. What kind of magical instrument? I actually found, okay, I was at a gas station today when I was driving up to North Georgia, and my son saw a Bigfoot lighter today. So we bought a Bigfoot lighter. Okay, this has nothing to do with nothing. Just you brought the lighter up. Um, and Ben actually grabbed it and put it on the counter, and I had to get like basically carded for this thing because my son touched the lighter. I didn't know the laws were so strict on lighters. A kid cannot buy a lighter, by the way, just so you know. Yeah.
I didn't know
Lady
there
was
was
like,
age restriction on.
there is. The lady was like, well, this is for you, right? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. She was like, well, so why are you asking? She was like, well, because your son is too young to buy a lighter. So I have to confirm that you're buying this. Right. So, anyways, but it has a Bigfoot on it. And I can appreciate that. Back when I first started Bigfooting and stuff, Robby, Bigfoot was not cool with the general public.
Oh no.
They did not have Bigfoot lighters back in the day, back when I was Bigfooting. What do you feel about the popularity of Bigfoot and Dogman today? Like I mean, it's pretty cool, right? That this is way
Oh
more
yeah.
popular than it was when
It,
we were experiencing this back in the day.
yeah, and it's like I've matter of fact, Da Doc and I were having this conversation about a month ago, and I said, the I kept this all my stuff bottled inside for 40 plus years because you called crazy and you were called stupid and you were called this and called that, and obviously this safe space we've got with these shows that we do, and the internet, and as like to say, you got the Googles now where you can get on and look at all this stuff, look up all this stuff. It's really good, and really it makes you feel good to know that you can come on a show like this, and and we've talked about this. You and I have vastly different opinions on a lot of things and how these things go, but we can sit here and have a conversation about it, and neither one of us calls the other one crazy or calls the other one stupid or says, no, it's my way or the highway, you've got to believe this way. That's what's so cool about this stuff is, because there are no experts in this field. It's all speculation. I could be 150% wrong on my opinions on this, but they're my opinions. And until we have something to study, nobody knows. They could walk into portals. They could be backtracking and have adaptive camouflage, like I said. Who knows? It's just, but that's the fun of it, and that's why I like this community. And when I say this community, I'm talking about the general community around our channels, where it's everybody can have a different opinion, but you don't get crucified for having a different opinion. And just going to tell you, there are channels and people out there who will crucify you if you don't have the opinion they have. And that's not what it's about, because you're never going to learn if you stay in one closed perspective. DA and Doc and I will sit here and say every single time, Jessica's heard us say this: if we're proven wrong, we'll be the first ones to say, dang, guess what? We were wrong.
Right.
But
exactly. Robby, I gotta say, those people that are the my way or the highway people, I see them in my chat sometimes. So they're over here. I don't know if they're maybe they're just learning. They're either lurking or learning, maybe both. Okay, so I know who you're talking about. They're in my chat sometimes.
Yeah,
they're not in here tonight though. Everybody in here, but I know exactly who you're talking about. And we are not a my way or highway kind of place. Neither is your channel, you and DA and the guys. I love having an open mind about stuff and keeping an open mind, even with the flat earth stuff. I know that is so polarizing. I don't know if y'all talked about flat earth yet. That is like the biggest fighting topic. God, people are like,
people will touch you over that flat earth stuff.
They will. This is a knockdown, drag out. And and we brought it up one day. Dr. John Stamey was on my show, and he mentioned having a flat Earth conference. And oh my God, the slinging began. Okay, and it wasn't bad, but I'm just saying it's very polarizing.
Yeah,
but I'm very open to it. Like I'm a globe kind of girl. I believe in the globe, but I'm open to having my mind changed. If somebody, if I saw the evidence of it.
I mean, it's no different than our theory about them living in caves, and I'm talking Bigfoot now, living in caves, being subterranean, wood knocks not being, still wood knocks out there, obviously, but
I think it's her mouth.
It's tongue click. I think they use it as a form of echolocation.
It's a tongue click, like bats and stuff, like sonar.
Yeah, exactly. If you're living predominantly underground, subterranean, it's dark, you got to have a way to move around. And I started working on this theory when I saw there was a Discovery Channel guy was completely blind. I think he was even born blind, and he taught himself how to echolocate by clicking his tongue. And they set up a little course on his bike for him to ride on his bicycle. And obviously the guy's blind, so he can't see the course. And he echolocated around that course and didn't hit a thing.
So I know. He rode a bike better than people that can see.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If we can be taught to do that, and this goes back to my argument about adaptive camouflage. If we can take a Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger or any kind of spec op and teach them how to disappear and melt into the woods. I mean, think about some of the training the snipers have to go through. I mean, they have to get within feet of the instructor and not be seen and fire off a shot and then hope that they're good enough for the instructor not to be able to find them. So if we can teach people to do that, what can something with a natural ghillie suit with clear hair shafts that does not want to be found, what can something like that do?
With chlorophyll in their hair. Chlorophyll is a part of it.
Look at the Paul Freeman film where Freeman was filming that black Sasquatch walking across the in front of that green tree, and it realizes he's videoing, and it stops. And when it stopped, it completely blended in and just disappeared. It didn't step in a portal. Scotty didn't beam it up. It just stopped moving. And then when he started moving towards it, and it realized he wasn't going away, it turned, and as soon as it turned, you could see it again because it was moving.
Yeah. Any
hunters out there, how many deer have you ever shot that you didn't see move first?
Yeah.
You don't. The question is you haven't, because you don't see them until they move, and that's a deer. So and you've heard me ask this question. If you shave a polar bear, what color is its skin?
I don't know, white or black or brown.
Black. It's black. Why would it be black? Where does a polar bear live? Lives in a very cold environment, right? What does black do? Black absorbs heat. Black absorbs the heat.
It does.
So then you take it a step further. Okay, well, what color is a polar bear's hair? Most people say it's white. No, it's clear. Why is it clear? Because when a polar bear is laying on the snow or an ice floe, one of those blowholes for seals or whatever, it needs to look like, because you've seen pictures of polar bears laying there like this, right? Covering their nose because their nose is black. So if they're sitting there looking down into that hole, they need to look like a big pile of snow. Because if a seal's looking up and he sees that face looking at him, he's not going to come up through that hole to get air. Smart adaptive camouflage. All you have to do is look in nature, and you can get a lot of these answers for these questions that we have.
That's right. And Robby, you are colder than a polar bear's toenails. I'm just saying.
That's pretty cold.
That's from an Outcast song, one of my favorites. So, yeah, I love it. Yeah, we're getting some knowledge of bears.
Most of the time.
My what?
I said because their toenails are dug in the snow most of the time. They're pretty cold.
Are they?
Yeah, I mean, you walk around the snow. But and like I said, that's my opinion. The stuff that I just spouted out, that's my opinion. But that's how I've explained my opinion. Yeah. And so far, I hadn't really met anybody that could out debate that opinion. And I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm right, but I just think I have. DA and Doc and I have really worked a lot on those theories, and I think we've really got a good. But it's just like our Teddy Roosevelt theory. And now look at the Lore Lodge. We did a show on Teddy Roosevelt being Bowman 2.5 years ago. A month ago, the Lore Lodge did a show on that and had 17,000 views on it. But we did a show about that 2.5 years ago. So,
oh man, I've been noticing that, Robby. Actually, somebody pointed that out to me. I've had a couple people point it out to me, like things that I've done shows on that people hadn't really done shows on. Well, bigger channels are like doing them, and I'm like, and it's kind of suspicious. It's like, okay, well, I did that. Did they get their idea from me? I've actually been quoted on shows that have like 500,000 subscribers, and they say my name because they get the information from my channels. From my channel.
Another thing, and Johnny actually sent me this. We did a show, and it was just me. It was actually the show that where we first started talking about the underground and the tongue clicks and all that kind of stuff. That show is when DA pulled up the map of Bigfoot sightings, the map of the cave systems, and the missing 411, and overlaid all three of those maps, and they matched up. 6 months later, there's a lady on TikTok called the Map Lady or the Map Girl, Map Woman, something like that. Well over 1 million followers. Johnny sends me a link to this video. She put out a video that had like 4 million views on it. She was talking about it and overlaid the exact same 3 maps in the exact same order that we did 6 months before.
Oh my God. I mean, it's flattering, right? That people are at least the information's getting out there, and I think that's actually the important part, and that's how I look at it. Is like, and I was talking to my friend Nick Sylvester, who he and I were both quoted on this show about the Sudan Dogman, the Iraq Dogman, or whatever, and I was excited about it. I was like, hey, I guess you hit the big time when you got big gigantic channels quoting you and stuff, and your channel. And so it's flattering. And he and I were discussing about how we're just happy that the information's getting out there, because that's ultimately what I'm in this for. And I know you are too. We're in it to spread the knowledge and spread what we know, and to make, to kind of let the world know what we know in a way. And so it's getting traction. So I'm cool with it, and they did mention my name, so they weren't just stealing my information or anything like that, So that was good. But I've noticed it too, Robby. I've noticed it too. It's happening to me as well. Okay.
Yeah.
That just means that people are watching.
Yeah.
That's a good
And
thing, right?
and yeah, I totally agree with that. The main thing is that the information's getting out there, but also that there's other people, bigger channels that have the same theories and ideas that we do. So
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you, Colleen. That's very sweet. I don't think people are copying our channel so much. I think that it's people are using our information because we have some really daggum good information. Okay. We're putting out good because we're actually boots on the ground field researchers. And in addition to that, I got some good remote viewing data for a lot of this stuff too that we're doing. And I think that plays a big role in all this too. But yeah, it's I always encourage everybody go watch channels like mine and yours, DAX Machina, and all the people that come on our shows. Like, we're the disclosure. Okay, like the disclosure. We're not going to be getting this from the mainstream media and stuff. Like, we're putting information out there that the mainstream media is not going to be putting out. Our government's not going to put it out. So come to our channels and watch that. I was just thinking, Robby, what is your opinion on all these drones that we got floating around out here around the East Coast? Do you have an opinion on that?
yeah, but it's kind of a political one, so I don't know if you want me to go into
Is
it or
it?
not. Yeah.
No, you don't have to. I mean, that answers it right there. I mean, I think it's political too, in a way.
Yeah, my dad and I were talking about it today, matter of fact, and we pretty much have or of the same opinion, and I think it's political. I think there's a country or two behind it.
I think so too. Somebody gave me that. I got that as a blind coordinate remote viewing target, and there were a couple of countries that came up in my data, and we talked about it on Thursday here on the channel. But it's just a hot topic right now. I like talking about the hot topics, and it's a matter of national security. And you're a law enforcement official, and I just these kind of things are important and they're very relevant, especially with just our everyday lives. So yeah, we got to stay safe out there, okay, but not live in fear, y'all. Like I said, and we got plenty of other things to worry about. Do you think that there could be an alien invasion planned in the future?
I don't know about that, but I think there's some other things that have already been tried that are going to be tried again.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it could be. It could be. Everybody, I always end my show every show. I always end it by saying, "Keep your head on a swivel." Okay. Keep your head on
Situational
a
awareness.
swivel and be situational awareness. Yeah. Yeah. One of your big things is like tracking and situational awareness, survival, things like that, Robby. Do you have any like advice for the audience tonight as to like taking care of ourselves and staying safe out there?
Well, no matter what you're doing, if you're out in the woods tracking a deer or tracking a Bigfoot, situational awareness, for anybody that doesn't know, that's you never go into a situation doing this and don't worry about all this. That's why it's ideal if
Mm-hmm.
you're going into a situation to have more than one person. Because if you're going to be looking at the ground and looking to track something, you need to have somebody watching your back. But if not,
Yeah.
you need to be watching everything. And the biggest things that I can say is if you're out there by yourself, few steps, look around, look up, look left, look right, look behind you, especially look behind you. But don't ever forget to look up, because a lot of these things like to climb trees, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
what was the beast of Bladenboro? Was that the one where the woman was attacked from above? Was that one?
It
I think.
was. Well,
Yeah, Bladen.
Linda Hamilton was. Linda
Hmm.
Hamilton was for sure up in
So
North Carolina.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Beast of Bladeboro. Yeah, that one. That one too. Actually, yeah.
yeah. And regardless of whether that was a cryptid or a big cat or whatever it was, she was attacked from above. If you're going out in an area where there's cougars, mountain lions, whatever you call them in the region you're in, those things are ambush predators. Check behind you, check above you. If you're going out when it's warm, watch out for snakes. Know what kind of snakes are in the area, and always watch out for the greater North American meth head, because they'll hurt you quicker than anything.
Oh my God. Look out for humans, y'all. Humans are even more dangerous than the cryptids out there sometimes. So that's funny.
Most times.
Oh my God. This is coming from a cop, y'all. It's coming from a cop.
I can't take credit for that one. That's DA's.
Is that what DA said?
Yeah, the greater North American meth head. That's his.
Oh my God. Thank you, Mari. Mari says this is for entertainment purposes only. I agree. This is for entertainment purposes only, y'all. And that's funny. Yes. Yeah, we got to watch out for everything that's out there right now. We do have some weird stuff going on, potentially things that are maybe planned to initiate fear and control the masses, like Colleen says. I 100% agree. The latest intel that I got on those drones was that they were searching for nuclear weapons that had been snuck into our country. I don't know. I think it's just more fear mongering personally, but I don't know. I try not to watch the news if I don't have to. Okay. I'd be fine just living in my own little bubble over here, chasing Bigfoot and Dogman in the woods. But nonetheless, this has been a fantastic show, Robby. Oh my gosh, we've almost been talking for 2 hours now, and I think we covered the werewolves pretty well. I think we did, and yeah. What do you have going on right now? And tell the audience a little bit about your podcast and your small business you got running right now.
Well, like I said earlier, you can find me and DA and Doc when he's available. He's been working his tail off here lately, so Doc hasn't been able to be on the show here too much. But you can find us on DAX Machina on YouTube. We're live every Wednesday and Saturday night for DAX Machina, and then every Sunday night we're live. And the times are going to be 9 p.m. Central Time. 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And Sunday nights we're live on Campfire Tales, where we're reading from DA's. We've started reading some of the short stories he'd written. Then we have just recently started and finished book 1 of the Ragnarok Rising series. Book 1 is called Awakening. It's a sci-fi zombie series, but all DA's books are tied together. So if you're not sure if you're going to like some of DA's books, go check out some of the Campfire Tales, and you can hear some of the short stories. We've read Demons Part 1 and 2. We've read Death Stalks Moon Valley, and I think one other. And now, like I said, we read the first book of the Ragnarok Rising series, and last Sunday we started book 2, which is called the Ragnarok Rising: The Crucible. All DA's books are tied together. They're all, you could see if you get a favorite character in one book series, that character very well could be. I'm in 2 different series right now. My character, Doc's in 2 or 3 different series, and he bases most of his characters on real life people, real life events. Tweaks things here and there, but go check them out. I mean, if you like cryptid stuff, which obviously you do, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be listening to me and Jessica talk about the stuff we're talking about. Go check him out, daroberts.net. You won't be, if you like to read and you like this kind of stuff, you won't be sorry about it. You'll like them. As far as me, Lone Wolf Customs, I do laser engravings, starting to make knives. I did that for Jessica.
You can see that. The Cryptid Huntress. You can't see it very well because it's a mirror, y'all. Robby, thank you so much for a mirror. I love it so much.
You're welcome. But
Just got my logo on it. It's beautiful.
This is one that I I've got one from that's my character in Dark Frontier. Doc's got one with his name on it, and DA's got one with Declan on it. Just a canvas. It's got the you paint and then paint the black over it, and then you laser engrave whatever your picture is.
That's really nice.
So,
He does a great.
Just kind of do a little bit of everything on that. And like I said, we're starting to make knives. So we're working on getting that done. Also
I love it.
for our knives, my buddy Johnny, it's on my partner on the podcasts, What's Really Out There podcast. He does leather work, and so the knives are going to be available with Kydex sheaths or leather sheaths. He made this one for me today. This is my little Mantis from Scallywag Tactical, but he made me a nice little scout carry leather holster. I sat there and watched him make it. You talk about a craftsman. He made that in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, while we sat there and talked.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
Those scallywag knives are sharp as heck, too. Be careful.
Well, that's why he made it for me, because it came with a little cheap nylon, and I cut my thumb on it last night, and we were sitting there talking.
God.
And he's
How many
like,
cuts have y'all gotten off those knives, man? Those things are so sharp.
on camera or all together?
All together. Yeah, right?
Well, all together probably a lot more than I would like to say, but on camera twice. And this is the one that got me on camera both times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, some scallywags will get you. But so if you want to see some of the stuff that I've done, you can go to my Lone Wolf Instagram channel. It's lone.wolf customs at Instagram, or however Instagram does it. Just search lone.wolf customs, and you can see a lot of the stuff that I've done. Hats, I do laser engraved hats. That's my Lone Wolf Forge and Customs logo that I made. So that's laser engraved leather, and
nice.
the hats, and put them on the hats. Matter of fact, Ed, I know your hats came in today, brother. So as soon as she gets me the artwork, I'll get started on your hats. Ed ordered some hats from me, and some which you still need to send me your design that you want for your business cards. You haven't done that yet, so there you go.
Nice. And if you guys, so you take orders, right? So like the audience can get some orders done by you. And so y'all go to, it's rrainsc8@gmail.com. So you guys send Robby an email, or you can go to his YouTube channel. Is this right, Robby? Lone.wolf customs?
Yep. That's my Instagram
that's his Instagram.
And that you can see hats, you can see all kinds of stuff that I've done on there.
Very nice. And please go over to DAX Machina. You guys, please go over there and subscribe. They have live shows is it Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Yep, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Shows. Yes, and DA is a good friend of the show as well. And I love DA. DA, I hope you're feeling better. If you get a chance to watch this, we hope you get to feeling better. Please come and join us on a show, DA, soon too. He's an amazing, amazing researcher. And I always enjoy having him on the show too. And but Robby, me and you have been out in the field together. We've had so much fun hanging out. Yep. And I'm so glad you came on tonight. I'm sorry that DA's not feeling well, but I'm glad that I could snag you tonight for a show.
Yeah. I was like, I get a night off, and you text me. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll come help you.
I was like, come on, Robby, you're off. I see. Come on, hang out with me on a Saturday night. And so thank you so much. I know it's nice to have a night off. Yeah. I don't know what that feels like. I haven't had one off in a while.
I don't mind. I mean, it's not like this is work. I mean, we sit around talking, and it's fun.
Yeah, we have a good time. Like I said, we have a really good time hanging out together. So, Robby, thank you so much for being here tonight and talking about our adventures out in the woods and the werewolves, and the dogmen. And the Bigfoots. It's fun. Okay. Please come back and see me. Come hang out.
Yeah.
And okay. Well, let's get out in the woods together too sometime soon. I'm going to be speaking at the next Georgia Bigfoot conference is in March this year. So maybe you can come back around in March. And
Yeah,
we'll
that's not far from me. So I mean
okay.
that's very doable. Like I said, we're going. I think into January, into the 1st of February is when we're going. I think that's what Doc had said when he's blocked it out. So we'll be going up there. So far as I know, I wouldn't have anything going on in March.
Okay, good. March 22nd, put it on your calendar that weekend. I will be up in that area. It's not in Clayton, it's in Demarest, which is a little, it's about, it's just a few minutes away from there. But it'll be a good time up there. And yeah, it's not far from that research area that we like to go to. Okay, so
Good deal.
heck yeah. Well, we'll be coming over and seeing you guys over on DA Ex Machina. You guys please go to Lone Wolf Customs on Instagram and hit up Robby for some laser goods. Okay. And y'all come back and see me on Monday. I have Jock Doubleday coming on the show Monday. We're going to be talking about the terraforming of Earth. He's done a lot of research. He's traveled the world. He believes that our Earth was actually made by I'm gonna let him talk to y'all about that on Monday. Okay, it was terraformed by maybe even extraterrestrials. I don't know. It's going to be really good. We probably even talk about the titans, the giants that might be mountains and all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about a lot of weird stuff that is going to blow your mind on Monday. So y'all come back, and then of course on Wednesday we got Vic Kunda from Dogman Encounters coming on. So y'all come back and see me then. Okay. Robby, are you guys taking tomorrow night off too?
Yeah, unless something happens, he wakes up feeling better tomorrow. If he does, then we'll be back. We'll just pick up with where we're supposed to pick up on the book. But as it stands right now, we won't be back to Wednesday, unless, like I said, unless he just wakes up feeling great tomorrow.
Okay. So, well, we're putting it out there. Good energy to DA. He feels better tomorrow. Okay. And I'm really enjoying your Sunday night show where you guys are doing your fireside chats and reading at his books. It's awesome. All right.
That's the RRA.
Yeah. The RRA.
Redneck, yeah, the Redneck Reading Association.
Oh my God.
That was my gosh.
Get your library cards ready. Go to the RRA. Okay. Oh my God. It's almost like the AARP, but not. It's the RRA. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, RRA instead of the AARP. Or however many A's and R's and P's are in that.
Y'all go to the Redneck Reading Program, okay, with Robby. Oh my gosh, Robby, that's a fun note to leave this show on. Y'all have a wonderful night. I hope you guys please stay safe out there and keep your head on a swivel. Don't live in fear and just have a wonderful night. Come back and see me on Monday. And y'all go and be sure to subscribe to DA Ex Machina on YouTube. Thank you, Robby, so much for being here. I'll see you guys on Monday. Everybody have a great night. Bye, y'all.